So this video is partly about mechanical stuff and partly about circuity stuff. The circuity stuff comes right at the end if you want to watch it. Some of you might possibly remember a long time ago I did a disc brake conversion at the back of the Invader, and that means because I'm using a combination of BMW, General Motors and VW parts. Some might argue that was completely unnecessary, and maybe that's true, but I fancied doing it anyway. So we have at the back of the car, well, let me say, at the front of the car we've got BMW parts. We haven't at the back because the BMW equivalent for the rear disc brakes has a built-in drum for the parking or handbrake, and I couldn't see easily a way of fitting that onto the axle because that requires stuff to go on with the back plate and so on. So I wanted a purely disc-based braking system at the back, and I used Vauxhall Insignia rear discs. It's a long time ago now. Can't be sure that I've got this right. Vauxhall Insignia rear discs. I've used a VW Tiguan brake calipers. They've got an electric parking brake included. Now, some of you might wonder why I have got any of that, because, as you might also have noticed, I've got a hydraulic handbrake. Let me quickly show you that. So here is the hydraulic handbrake, and as you should be able to see, that's the master cylinder for the handbraking system, parking brake system. It's plumbed into the rear brakes only, and it's got a kind of strange arrangement with a ratchet and a release arm for when you're on a hill or what have you, and it works. So that's great. But already you might possibly have noticed, what the hell is this? Right, well, let me explain. As I understand it, hydraulic handbrakes aren't normally allowed on the road, and that's due to two reasons, I think. One is it's not an independent circuit from the rest of the braking system, and it's supposed to be independent. But the other reason, and this may be open to some debate, but the other reason I believe that hydraulic systems are prone either to leaking down or even locking up in place if they are left pressurized for a long time. Now, the reason I say locking up, because I know someone who used to work for a hydraulics company, excavators and things like that, and she told me that it's usual to leave diggers and that with their operating a bucket or whatever resting on the ground rather than up in the air, and that was possible that would cause sticking of the hydraulic system. So yeah, we have two things there: sticking, and I'm talking about over days and weeks now, certainly days rather than moments on a hill start or what have you. So over days, possibly weeks, or maybe even longer, a hydraulic system may either stick in place, or because the seals may not be 100% what's the word, hermetic, possibly, they may leak down over a long period of time, so the pressure in the parking system falls down, so it's insufficient to leave the parking brake in operation. And if you're parked on a hill, for example, or on any kind of slope, and you leave the car there for a long time, it may be that the parking brake, if it's hydraulic, actually depressurizes and the car rolls away, and that clearly is potentially dangerous. So for that reason, I wasn't quite happy to purely rely, tempting though it was, on a hydraulic handbrake solution. So in fact I came to the conclusion of using a handbrake caliper or parking brake caliper with a built-in parking system. I decided to do that before I fitted this hydraulic thing, and I just thought, well, could be quite fun, handbrake turns and so on, in a way that you wouldn't get with an electric system. Now my wife's car out there, which is a Subaru XV, also has an electric parking brake. So let me demonstrate that to you. So I'm sat in the Subaru right now, and as you can see, there is no parking lever in the ordinary sense, but what there is this little thing, which if I press it, but if you do listen very carefully, if I engage the parking brake, and there was a little whirring noise just then, which you probably didn't hear, and a little red light came on, and the parking brake is now engaged. And if I push it, again it whirred for a minute, the parking brake is now disengaged. I can feel that under my foot, by the way, which is on the brake, and the little light went off. So basically it comes on for a moment and then it goes off for a moment, like that. And you can see why manufacturers have increasingly gone over to that system, because there's no need for a handbrake cable basically, and the actual physical switch here is a lot smaller than a handbrake lever would be. So that's the system, that's how they work. And here under the car is the caliper, electric brake caliper itself. Now the actual caliper is this still slightly rusty object here, but this is the electric motor. So I think there's an actual motor in here, and there's some gears, and in here is the drive, which is on, seems to be on some kind of screw thread. So when you actuate the motor, it kind of drives or screws the caliper in toward the brake pad, in towards the disc, as if it was on a bolt. So it turns the thread around and screws it in or screws it out, and it's a sliding caliper, so it does both sides up at the same time. So it's very much a mechanical system, albeit operated by an electric motor, and so therefore this thing here is effectively my electric handbrake cable disappearing off under the car somewhere. Where is it? Disappearing into the car over there somewhere. So that's how that physically works. So back in the Gilburn, you might have noticed this switch here, which was intended to be the parking brake. But the problem is, it latches, and it's just got two positions, basically on and off, and that doesn't allow me to have the thing actuate for just a moment, which is what you need, where the system winds on, the brake caliper winds on and then winds off, but it doesn't keep running continuously. And this is the important point. So what I've come up with is basically this system, which uses a toggle switch. Here it is. And I've made it so that it kind of emulates the handbrake lever, really. So if I just switch the ignition on, it does need to be on. So what we have here is a switch that switches the handbrake caliper. Listen, this should be audible. And I can feel the effect of that under my foot, by the way. I've got my foot on the foot brake. So because this is a momentary switch, it is actually more suitable for being a brake than this one. Now possibly I could have come up with some system that took the latching switch and actuated the motor for just a moment. Anyway, yeah, probably could have done that, but certainly for now, I'm going to stick with my toggle switch, which is down here, and as I've demonstrated already, I can have that. So forwards means the car can go forwards, and backwards means the car has to stop. And you can hear the motor kind of running out of effort, as it were, to do any further winding of the calipers. So if we want to go forwards, we have to release that, and that's the way it works. So that's my parking brake, which I would use if I was leaving this thing parked on a hill, or maybe if I took it on a ferry, which I think they're quite strict about tie-down procedures, things like that. And it's just an extra safety as well. So effectively we've got three means of operating the brake. We've got the foot brake, of course, we've got the mechanical hydraulic brake, and also the electric brake. But when thinking about all this, one of the things I did worry about is actually how to wire the things up. But then when I did the work on the electric windows a week or two ago, I realised that this is actually the same circuit. The only difference is the motor in here, rather than being a window motor, is an electric handbrake motor, which either winds on to do the brake up, or winds off to undo it. So the wiring is identical in style to the electric window motor, and that's exactly how I've done it. So we have, again, two relays. We have 0 and 12 volt supply each side, and with the little toggle switch operates the coil on the relay, and depending on which coil has been energized, we either get a circuit. If we energize this one, the tab goes down to there, and we have a circuit that runs from here to here through the motor that way. And if the other one's energized, this tab goes down there, and we get a circuit running from here to here, running in the opposite direction. And that is the key to wiring this up. And because this is a spring toggle switch, which you saw, a nice little chromy thing, it means it's only operating for as long as you press it. Unlike the one in the Subaru, where you press the switch, it goes zzz, and it energizes all the way and then switches off. So I guess that works on a timer. But we don't need to have a timer. We can just use our mind, if you like, to wind the brake on, and then wind the brake off. And so that's it. So this kind of circuit with a polarity changeover, which I think I'll call it a polarity changeover circuit, is a pretty useful thing. So for my practical demonstration of the system, I've got the car on ramps at the back, and I'm going to release the what I will regard as normal hydraulic handbrake. This is the one I would use in normal driving. I've kept my foot on the foot brake, and I'm now going to release it. The car may or may not move. So, okay, it's at the top part of the ramp, which is not particularly sloping at the moment, but I'm now going to release it a bit. And bear in mind, I've never done this before. So I'm releasing. Right, actually I've released the parking brake altogether, and we're still not moving. That's because we're not right. Okay, now we're on the slope. A little bit of encouragement there. So I'm going to let the car part the way down the slope. I'm holding it with the foot brake now, and now I'm going to put the electric parking brake on. And I'm going to let go of my foot, as it were. And here we are. We are now part the way down the slope. And of course it's still sat here. And just for reference, actually, I'm going to release I'll put my foot back on the foot brake. I'm releasing the the electric parking brake, and I'm going to put the hydraulic parking brake on and see what effect that has. And there we have. That is now the hydraulic parking brake in the same position. But this is I mean, I could experiment with this, leaving it parked for a long time to see if the hydraulic system depressurizes. I haven't got time to do that. But anyway, so the hydraulic parking brake definitely works as well, but with that proviso. So I'm going to go back to electric mode. So I'm holding it on the foot brake, and I'm going to put the electric parking brake on, and we don't move. And I'm just going to release it a little bit. And now we're moving. Yeah, we're definitely moving now. Put the electric system back on again, and we've stopped. And I'll just do that thing with the hydraulic system again, because I'm curious now. So I've released the electric brake. And I put the hydraulic parking brake on, and we are stuck. So we are, I can't see how far down the slope we are. Still quite at the top of the slope, but certainly I'm fully on the angle, if you like, because where the ramp is horizontal at the top, of course, there's no real slope. When it's the bottom, there's no slope. But if it's anywhere on the sloping part, the impetus forwards will be the same. But we have a full temptation, if you like, for the car to go forward. But anyway, yes. So we have the hydraulic system, which I will now release. We've now got the foot brake system, which is obviously still working. And I'm now going to put the electric system on. And we're still held. So that is indeed belt, braces and elasticated trousers at the back of the car. And I'm pretty confident that's a full complement of necessary braking systems. But the problem with electric handbrakes, of course, is they take a moment to react. Bzzzt is not the same thing as tugging on the handle of the mechanical or hydraulic brake, and for that reason they're not so good at, let's say, finessing the route of the vehicles taking around a track or something like that. So basically no good for handbrake turns. They're too slow. So that's why I wouldn't use an electric handbrake for everything. Not in a car like this anyway. But of course, unlike the hydraulic parking brake, the electric parking brake being essentially mechanical, there's no risk of that running down, slipping, whatever. You could leave that parked for 50 years and that would work just the same. So there we have it, a parking brake system which is fully compliant with regulations, provides for extra fun factor where we might want that, and also makes use of some interesting electric circuitry which you might find useful. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching, and in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.